So today's video is a combination of a review and a featured build because the case that I'm taking a look at is pretty special. It's the Alphacool Apex Pro Skeleton carbon case with a tubular carbon fibre frame and combination of aluminium and carbon fibre panels and fan mounts, and it includes a huge Alphacool custom distro plate. It will be quite difficult to review this case like any other ordinary PC case review. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a full Alphacool custom loop inside the Pro Skeleton carbon, then come back and let you know what I think of it. So this is the Alphacool Apex Pro Skeleton carbon case. It's actually available in two different versions. There's the Pro version and then the regular non-Pro version. The Pro version comes with the distro plate. It's a custom distro plate specifically designed for this case. In the non-Pro version there's no distro plate included, but you still get the full carbon tubular frame, the CNC aluminium corners, and everything else that you can see on here is included with the non-Pro version. The Pro version of the case is €1,000 more or less, and the non-Pro is significantly cheaper, around €650. Both of these you can pick up directly from Alphacool. The Alphacool Apex Pro Skeleton is crafted from authentic carbon fibre for unrivaled strength and durability, with precision CNC machined aluminium corners and smoked glass side panels for added stability and elegance. It's equipped with a distro plate specifically designed for the skeleton case with a wide range of waterway connection options. It supports dual 360mm radiators and vertical GPU mounting with an included vertical mount and PCIe 4 riser cable, as well as a motherboard tray with a built-in cable box that can be flexibly positioned to suit your build. So let's take a look at the Apex Pro Skeleton carbon case, some of its features and specifications. If you want to check out the full specifications list, there will be a written page for this build over on kitguru.net, so if you want to see full specifications, head over to the page and check that out. On the left and right hand sides there are these glass panels. These are smoked or tinted and held in position with 4 thumb screws. It's quite an old style design this, but I think with it being open frames kind of design, it's difficult to make these panels attach in any other way, and they're really chunky screws that hold it in place, so they kind of suit the case anyway. The only problem with it is the glass doesn't really locate on anything on the frame, so when you're taking the screws out, the glass does kind of drop off, but you can see there it is a tinted or smoked glass. Same on both sides of the case. The first thing you notice when you remove that side panel is this carbon fibre and aluminium bracket here, and that's housing the vertical GPU mount, and on there is a PCIe 4 riser cable. So the case out of the box is set up for vertical graphics card mounting. This is just a 2-slot PCIe bracket on here. I guess that's because any card that's going to be used in here is going to have an Alphacool block or some water block on it, and you don't really need much more space than 2 slots for a water-cooled card. At the front there's a 360mm radiator mount, so on there you can fit a 120, 240 or 360mm radiator. Also at the front, up at the top here, is the front I/O. On there there's just 2 USB 3.0 Type A ports, 3.5mm jacks for audio and microphone, and a power button. Up at the top here there's another 360mm radiator mount, so again on here you can have up to a 120, 240 or 360mm radiator or 320mm fans. The case only supports 120mm fans. There's no 140 fan mounts. And then at the back there's another carbon fibre fan mount here, and that's just a single 120, so potentially you can fit on there a 120mm radiator, 120mm fan, or maybe a 120mm flat reservoir, or anything really that has 120mm fan mountings. The distro plate that's built into the system here is a combination of acrylic and some carbon fibre at the bottom. It suits the rest of the build with the carbon fibre fan mounts. All the framework is made out of carbon fibre tubes, and then it's held together on the sides or on the corners with these CNC aluminium brackets, and then there's the mounts there for the glass. Both the fan mount at the front and the top are adjustable. You can see there's 4 Allen head screws on here. If you just loosen these off, you see the bracket has some adjustment up and down there, so if your tubes are a bit out of line, you should be able to finally adjust them there. top bracket is the same. And if we just spin the case round to the opposite side and remove the glass, same thing again with the 4 thumb screws that hold it in position. Again, that comes off again. You can see that is the same smoke tempered glass. The back of the motherboard tray here is actually covered, so this is like a box to cover up all the wiring. 4 screws to remove. And then that cover comes off there because it's just a plain aluminium cover. And then that opens up the back of the motherboard tray. Got a couple of cutouts here for cables. I'm guessing that these are some kind of cable management feature there to run cables through and then maybe tie them to it. There's also some screws on the other side of the motherboard tray. And if you just loosen those off, the motherboard tray can be moved up and down as well. So if you need to finally adjust tubing to make sure that everything's straight and parallel, you've got a lot of adjustment in the fan brackets and in the motherboard tray. You can see the distro plate a bit clearer now. I've spun this round. You can see there's plenty of inlets and outlet ports there. And the pump is an Alphacool VPP pump. It's like a D5 pump. Connects up to SATA power and has a 4-pin PWM to check the speed of the pump and make adjustments as necessary using motherboard software or in the BIOS for the pump speed. Just spin it round to the back. There's not a lot to talk about really because it is technically an open frame case, but up here you've got the 120mm fan mount. At the bottom here is the mount for power supply, and it's a standard ATX power supply mount. Quickly just look at the bottom of the case. Again, there's not much to it. It's an open, completely open floor. The only thing you do have on the base of the case is the only mount for a storage drive. It's just a single 2.5-inch drive mount there, so there's no additional 3.5-inch drives. But again, like I say, it's open case. You wouldn't really want to be installing a regular 3.5-inch hard drive in here. It just wouldn't fit in with the looks of the system. You wouldn't want to see a big silver box on the floor. So I think that's why Alphacool's just gone with that single 2.5-inch SSD mount on there. The carbon fibre looks excellent. All the weave is in the same direction on all the panels and tubing. It all matches up nicely. And it's actually surprisingly quite light. The main weight in this Pro version is that distro plate. I think the Pro version weighs about 13 kilograms, which for the size of the case, it is quite low. If you take that distro plate out, it will be significantly less, but carbon fibre is a lightweight material. As I say, it will be a full Alphacool custom loop that I'm building inside the case. And because of that, we've got a load of other Alphacool parts. So the CPU block for the build will be this Alphacool Core 1 Aurora block. I've used this before in silver and black versions. This is the carbon fibre version of that. It's Alphacool's latest CPU block. Graphics card will be cooled by this Alphacool Core GeForce RTX 4080 reference design water block. This is again one of Alphacool's latest GPU water blocks. Comes with a aluminium backplate. This is obviously the one designed for reference cards, so reference 4080s and 4090s. I'm going to put 2 radiators in the system. There'll be a 360 at the top and a 360 at the front. The radiators I'm using are these Alphacool Nexus HPE 45 full copper 360mm radiators, 45mm thick, 360mm long, so 320mm fans on each of them. I did toy with the idea of running push-pull fans, but I think I will just run a push configuration fan on both of the radiators and then install a 120mm fan in the rear of the case here. The fans that I'm using are the Alphacool Apex Stealth metal fans. These are the black versions in various different colours of silver, gold, black, and I think a white version of these. Should be putting about 7 of these in the system, 3 on each radiator and 1 in the rear of the case. The other hardware in the system includes an AMD Ryzen 7 7800X3D CPU. I wanted to try and match the motherboard up to the case as best as possible, so I've used this MSI MPG X670E carbon Wi-Fi motherboard. That should look absolutely perfect with this build. Graphics card, that doesn't really match the build, but this stock cooler is going to be removed from the card completely and it will have that water block on. But this is the Inno3D RTX 4080 Super X3 OC. It's the white version. No real reason why I picked white, but like I say, the white cooler will be removed and it'll have that Alphacool block on it. For memory, it's 64 gigabytes of G.Skill Trident Z5 RGB. It's DDR5 6400 mega transfers per second. Storage, I'm just going to use a single Samsung 990 Pro PCIe Gen 4 NVMe M.2 SSD. It's just a 1 terabyte drive. Power supply is a pretty beefy thing. So this is the latest Seasonic Prime PX 2200. So it's a 2200 or 2.2 kilowatt power supply. It's fully modular, ATX3 and PCIe 5 compatible. Quite a big and long power supply. I think it's about 200 millimeters long, but it's got a nice black and silver effect to it. Should match in with the system pretty well. And yeah, it's an absolute beast of a power supply. That's Seasonic's latest power supply. If you're wanting something with extra power, that is the power supply to go for. So I didn't want to spend too much time on talking in this video. I just want to get on with the build. So yeah, let's jump into that now. Let's get on with building this system inside this Apex Pro Skeleton carbon case and see how it turns out. So the build's complete. I hope you enjoyed watching the time lapse of the build. Pretty much straightforward, the build process. It's a little tight at the distro plate, getting the fittings on and working tubing around there, but otherwise it went pretty straightforward. Everything went to plan. Got 360mm radiator at the front with the fans on the front as intakes. Another 360mm radiator at the top. The fans are on the top of the radiator, so they're pulling air through, and then a single 120mm fan at the rear. I've gone with a red theme. The case without any liquid in the build, it looked a bit monochrome and a bit dull. The carbon fibre looks great, but it was lacking a bit of colour, so I think the red really works well with the carbon fibre and black theme on here. Cooling's obviously working well with the two 360mm rads and the big distro plate. There's almost 2 litres of coolant that goes into this with these two 360 rads and that big distro plate. Cinebench R23 load, CPU temperature is exactly what I'd expect, and running the 3D Mark Speedway stress test continuously. The GPU temperature again is exactly what I expect with this graphics card and with this cooling system, so that's all good. Only real issue I've got with the case, or one of the things that I noted during the installation, is the power supply mount down here at the bottom. It's the Seasonic Prime PX2200 power supply, which is quite long and it is quite a heavy power supply. When you mount it down here on the standard mount, it's quite wobbly. I don't know whether that's just an issue with this power supply, with the size of it and the weight of it, but to be fair, any decent power supply is going to weigh quite a bit, and it does wobble about quite a lot, and you can't even get it to sit straight and level with the standard mount. So what I've done is I've just stuck a GPU support bracket here that I had lying around, and it's just supporting off the 2.5-inch SSD mount and holding the power supply up. If you take that out, you can see it's quite wobbly. With the price of this case, you'd expect a bit better. You want everything to be perfect when you're paying €1,000 or whatever it is, the price of the case. So that's a little disappointing, but other than that, I love the carbon fibre framework effect. It's almost got like a bit of a car tuning or car styling kind of thing with the carbon fibre and the red, and I think it's turned out looking absolutely spectacular. It's not going to be something you'd use for an office PC or something like that, but for some kind of real high-end, high-quality showcase build, there's really nothing else like it. So that's the Alphacool Apex Pro Skeleton carbon case. Let me know what you think of the case and the build in the comment section. If you've enjoyed watching the video, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button. Subscribe to Kit Guru if you've not already done so. If you enjoy what we do here at Kit Guru and you want to help support us, you can always head over to the store, pick up some merch, or you could even subscribe to our Patreon. And as always, if you want to catch up on all the in-depth technical reviews, head over to our website.